It's 2012 and the Cannes Film Festival is buzzing with the kind of glamour that makes headlines. The red carpet is packed, cameras flashing, and Brad Pitt's killing them softly is the talk of the night. But behind the velvet ropes, away from the spotlight, something darker is unfolding. Mia, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, steps into a moment she'll never forget. She says she saw Diddy arguing with his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, his face twisted with anger. According to Mia's testimony, he grabbed Cassie's arm, digging his nails in deep, his voice low and menacing. It wasn't just a disagreement, it felt like a power play, one that ended with Diddy ordering Cassie to leave the event. She did, disappearing into the night while the festival carried on, oblivious. This wasn't a one-off, Mia claims, but a glimpse into a pattern that would stay hidden for years. And what happened next would only deepen the shadows. Mia's account of that night paints a picture of control, not just conflict. She didn't just witness a heated moment. She saw a man who thrived on dominance, at least according to her testimony in the Manhattan federal court. The way she describes it, Diddy's grip on Cassie's arm wasn't just physical, it was a warning, a signal of who called the shots. Mia says she stood frozen, watching as Cassie, a rising star under Diddy's bad boy records, complied without a fight. The glitz of Cannes, with its A-list stars and champagne toasts, was a stark contrast to this private scene. Brad Pitt, whose movie premiere set the stage, had no role in the drama, but his name got tangled in the headlines anyway. Mia's story, shared years later in court, wasn't about Hollywood glamour. It was about a moment that stuck with her, a moment she says revealed Diddy's true nature. But this was just the beginning of what she'd see. The Cannes incident wasn't an isolated flare-up, if Mia's words are to be believed. She testified that this was one of many times she saw Diddy's temper turn physical, a claim that aligns with Cassie's own allegations in her 2023 lawsuit. That night in 2012, Mia says, Cassie's arm bore the marks of Diddy's anger, bruises hidden under makeup, a detail that would become a recurring theme in later testimonies. The festival's sparkle masked a reality Mia says she lived with daily. A world where Diddy's influence loomed large, where his approval was everything, and where crossing him could mean losing it all. This moment, set against the backdrop of a star-studded premiere, wasn't just a fight. It was a window into a relationship that, according to witnesses, was built on fear. And as Mia would later tell the court, it was a fear that kept her silent for years, until the truth started clawing its way out. But hold on, because what Mia faced herself would make this look like just the tip of the iceberg. Mia's silent struggles began the moment she stepped into Sean Diddy Combs' world in 2009. Hired as his assistant and pulled into a life where his charisma and control were two sides of the same coin. In Manhattan's federal courtroom, Mia, testifying under a pseudonym, laid bare a story that's as haunting as it is raw. She claims Diddy didn't just demand loyalty, he enforced it with fear. According to her, he sexually assaulted her multiple times, starting with an incident at his 40th birthday party in 2009, then again at his Los Angeles home and even on a private plane. Each time, she says, left her feeling smaller, trapped in a cycle of seeking his approval while burying her trauma. Her voice in court wasn't loud or theatrical, it was steady, carrying the weight of years spent silent. But what kept her quiet for so long? That's where the story gets even darker. Mia told the court she felt brainwashed, a word that hung heavy in the room. She described a world where Diddy's power wasn't just professional, it was personal, almost suffocating. Every decision, every move she made was shaped by the need to stay in his good graces. When his lawyers pressed her, pointing to old texts where she seemed friendly or supportive on social media, she didn't flinch. I was still brainwashed, she said, her words slicing through the defense's attempt to paint her as inconsistent. She spoke of shame so deep it made her want to disappear, to die, rather than tell anyone what she'd been through. It's the kind of confession that stops you cold, a reminder that behind the glitz of Diddy's empire, private jets, star-studded parties, was a reality where fear kept secrets locked tight. But Mia wasn't just fighting her own demons. She was up against a man who, she claims, made sure his world stayed under his control. The courtroom heard how Mia's silence wasn't just about shame, it was about survival. She says Diddy's influence reached far beyond his inner circle, with threats that felt real enough to keep her mouth shut for years. When asked why she didn't report the *salt sooner, her answer was raw. She was terrified not just of Diddy, but of the life she'd built under his shadow. The job, the connections, the lifestyle, it all hung in the balance. And yet, when Cassie Ventura's 2023 lawsuit broke open the floodgates, Mia found herself unable to stay quiet any longer. Her testimony wasn't just about her own pain, it was about standing with others who'd faced Diddy's alleged wrath. She spoke of seeing Cassie's struggles up close, a connection that made her own silence feel heavier. And as she laid it all out in court, you could almost feel the weight lifting, just a little before the next bombshell dropped. What Cassie had to say would take this story to another level. Cassie Ventura's breaking point came in November 2023, when she dropped a bombshell lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs that sent shockwaves through the music world. After years of silence, she accused him of years of physical and psychological abuse, *X trafficking, and even rape, painting a picture of a relationship that was anything but the glamorous romance it seemed on the surface. Her claims were raw and detailed, describing a decade under Diddy's control, starting when she signed with his Bad Boy Records at just 19. According to Cassie, Diddy used his power to trap her in a cycle of violence and manipulation, forcing her into situations she couldn't escape. The lawsuit was settled in a single day for a reported $20 million, but that wasn't the end. It was the spark that lit a fire, bringing dozens more accusers forward. And when Cassie took the stand in Diddy's 2024 federal trial, her words carried a weight that no settlement could silence. In court, Cassie's testimony peeled back the curtain on what she called a nightmare of a relationship. She spoke of being coerced into what prosecutors now call freak-offs, drug-fueled, orchestrated *X performances that Diddy allegedly demanded, often involving male escorts and relentless pressure. Her voice stayed steady as she described how these events left her feeling broken, her autonomy stripped away under Diddy's watchful eye. She claimed he'd fly into rages if she resisted, sometimes leaving her bruised and terrified. One chilling detail stood out. Hotel security footage from 2016, later leaked, showed Diddy allegedly chasing her down a hallway and throwing her to the ground. Cassie's account wasn't just about physical scars. It was about a man who, she says, controlled every corner of her life, from her music career to her personal choices. But even as she spoke, you could sense the strength it took to finally say it all out loud. And she wasn't alone in her fight. What makes Cassie's story hit so hard is how long it took to come out, and how it almost didn't. She told the court she stayed silent for years, paralyzed by fear of Diddy's influence and the shame of what she'd endured. Even after their relationship ended in 2018, the trauma lingered, keeping her quiet until the world started to listen. Her 2023 lawsuit wasn't just a legal move, it was a declaration that she was done hiding. In the trial, she connected her story to others like Mia, whose own allegations echoed Cassie's claims of control and *, salt. The courtroom heard whispers of a bigger pattern, with over 70 lawsuits now piling up against Diddy. Cassie's breaking point wasn't just her own, it was a turning point for everyone watching, wondering who else might step forward. And just when you thought her story couldn't get more disturbing, another piece of the puzzle emerged, one that would make you question everything you thought you knew about Diddy's world. The freak-off mystery sounds like something out of a dark Hollywood script, but according to courtroom testimony, it was a chilling reality in Sean Diddy Combs' world. Cassie Ventura and another accuser known only as Jane described these so-called freak-offs as drug-fueled, choreographed *X performances orchestrated by Diddy himself. Reports suggest these events were meticulously planned, often involving male escorts, heavy substances, and an atmosphere of coercion that left participants feeling trapped. Cassie's voice in court carried a mix of pain and defiance as she recounted being pressured into these encounters, her choices stripped away under Diddy's unrelenting control. It's been said that these gatherings weren't just parties, they were power plays designed to bend others to his will. The details are murky, but the picture painted is one of a man who thrived on dominance, and it's left everyone wondering just how deep this went. Jane's testimony added another layer to the mystery, framing these events as something far beyond consensual excess. She claimed Diddy would use drugs to lower inhibitions, creating a haze where saying no felt impossible. Rumors suggest these freak-offs took place in private homes, hotel suites, and even on the road, with Diddy allegedly recording some encounters to hold over participants' heads. The prosecution pointed to this as part of a broader pattern of *X trafficking, though Diddy's defense insists it was all part of a consensual swingers lifestyle. Yet, the way Cassie and Jane tell it, consent was a word that didn't apply, fear did. Their stories, though unverified in every detail, have sparked whispers online, with fans and skeptics alike piecing together what might have happened behind closed doors. But one thing's clear. These allegations are reshaping how people see Diddy's empire. The freak-off mystery isn't just about shocking claims, it's about what it says about power and silence. Both women spoke of feeling dehumanized, their autonomy erased in a world where Diddy's word was law. It's been said that these events were a twisted extension of his need for control, a way to keep those around him tethered to his influence. What's chilling is how long these stories stayed buried, with fear and shame keeping voices quiet until the courtroom cracked things open. As the trial unfolds, more questions linger. How many others were part of this? Were there more recordings, more cover-ups? The buzz on platforms like X keeps the speculation alive, but the truth remains just out of reach. And just when you think you've heard the worst, another name gets pulled into the story, dragging the spotlight somewhere unexpected. Hollywood connections have a way of stealing the spotlight, and in Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial, names like Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio got tangled in the narrative, even though they're nowhere near the accusations. Let's clear the air. Neither star is implicated in any wrongdoing. Brad Pitt's link comes from that 2012 Cannes Film Festival moment, where his movie Killing Them Softly was premiering while, according to Mia's testimony, Diddy allegedly clashed with Cassie Ventura offstage. Pitt was just the headliner of the event, his name a shiny distraction in a story that's really about Diddy's shadow. But when big names get dropped in a courtroom, they spark curiosity, and that's exactly what happened here. It's not about Pitt's involvement. It's about how Diddy's world brushed up against Hollywood's elite, pulling them into his orbit without their say. Then there's Leonardo DiCaprio, whose name surfaced in a completely different context, one that paints a picture of Diddy's ego more than anything else. Mia, Diddy's former assistant, referenced a 2020 text exchange where Diddy bragged about a high-stakes poker game. He allegedly crowed that Titanic guy only won $10,000 in a poker game, while Diddy walked away with $650,000. It's a fleeting anecdote, but it's telling. Diddy, by Mia's account, loved flexing his dominance, even in casual moments with A-listers. DiCaprio, like Pitt, has no role in the trial's allegations, but his name adds a layer of intrigue, showing how Diddy's life was a magnet for fame. It's been said on platforms like X that Diddy's parties were star-studded affairs, but these mentions in court aren't about guilt. They're about a man who craved the glow of celebrity to boost his own. These Hollywood connections, though peripheral, shine a light on Diddy's larger-than-life persona, one that thrived on proximity to power. Mia's testimony suggests Diddy didn't just want to be a music mogul, he wanted to be a king among stars, someone who could outshine even the biggest names. The poker game story, while small, hints at a man who measured himself against icons like DiCaprio, always needing to come out on top. Meanwhile, Pitt's movie premiere as a backdrop to an alleged *salt underscores how Diddy's private actions clashed with his public image, even at the height of glamour. These name drops aren't the heart of the trial, but they're a reminder of how Diddy's world was built on spectacle, where fame was both a shield and a stage. And just when you think it's all about glitz, the story takes a darker turn, with whispers of cover-ups that hit closer to home. Cover-ups and bribes cast a long shadow over Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial, with testimony suggesting he didn't just wield power, he worked hard to bury the truth. One of the most jaw-dropping claims came from Eddie Garcia, a former hotel security guard, who took the stand to describe a chilling incident from 2016. According to Garcia, he witnessed Diddy chasing Cassie Ventura down a hotel hallway, throwing her to the ground in a violent outburst. But what happened next is what really raises eyebrows. Garcia says Diddy approached him later, offering a $100,000 cash bribe to make sure the hotel's security footage of the incident never saw the light of day. That footage, which eventually leaked years later, became a key piece of evidence in Cassie's 2023 lawsuit. It's the kind of story that makes you wonder, how many other moments like this were swept under the rug? The courtroom didn't just hear about one-off payoffs. Prosecutors allege Diddy's operation was built on a pattern of silencing those who could expose him. Rumors have swirled that he used his wealth and influence to keep witnesses quiet, with some claiming he'd dangle career opportunities or cash to ensure loyalty. Another witness, stylist Deont Nash, testified about being pressured to stay silent after seeing what he described as disturbing behavior at one of Diddy's events. While Nash didn't specify a bribe, he hinted at an unspoken rule: speak out and you'd lose everything. It's been said online, especially in posts on X, that Diddy's inner circle was a fortress, with layers of protection to keep his secrets safe. These stories, though not fully verified, paint a picture of a man who didn't just control people, he controlled the narrative. What makes these cover-up allegations so unsettling is how they fit into the bigger puzzle of Diddy's world. Cassie's friend Brianna Bongalan testified that she saw Diddy's team scramble to handle incidents, suggesting a well-oiled machine designed to erase problems. The $100,000 bribe Garcia described wasn't a desperate move. It was business as usual if his account holds up. Prosecutors argue this was part of a broader racketeering scheme, where money and intimidation kept Diddy's empire untouchable. But as more witnesses come forward, the cracks in that empire are showing. The leaked footage, the growing number of lawsuits, the whispers of coercion, it all points to a truth that's getting harder to hide. And just when you think the stakes can't get higher, the trial pulls back the curtain on something even bigger. The bigger picture of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial stretches far beyond one man's story. It's a seismic shift in how we view power, fame, and accountability in the music industry. With over 70 lawsuits piling up against Diddy, each one echoing claims of S*X trafficking, racketeering, and abuse, the courtroom in Manhattan has become a stage for voices long silenced. Cassie Ventura's 2023 lawsuit was the spark, but it's the chorus of accusers, former assistants like Mia, stylists, friends, and even hotel staff, that's turning this into a reckoning. Rumors swirling on platforms like X suggest Diddy's influence once seemed untouchable, with whispers of witnesses being pressured or paid off to stay quiet. These claims, while not all proven, paint a chilling image of an empire built as much on fear as on talent. And it's making everyone ask, how did this stay hidden for so long? What's emerging in court is a pattern that feels bigger than Diddy himself. Prosecutors argue he ran a criminal enterprise, not just a music label, using his Bad Boy Records empire to control and manipulate those around him. Allegations of freak-offs, bribes, and intimidation aren't just personal failings, they're pieces of a system if the testimonies hold true. Posts on X have fueled speculation about who else in the industry might have known, with some fans pointing fingers at other moguls, though nothing's been confirmed. The trial's not just about one man's guilt or innocence. It's about what happens when power goes unchecked, when fame becomes a shield. Every new witness, from Cassie's friend Brianna Bongolan to security guard Eddie Garcia, adds weight to the idea that Diddy's world was a carefully guarded fortress. But now that fortress is crumbling. The bigger picture also forces us to grapple with what comes next. If these allegations are true, they rewrite Diddy's legacy, from a hip-hop icon to a figure at the center of one of the industry's darkest scandals. The buzz online keeps growing, with hashtags and threads dissecting every court update, some calling it a long-overdue fall, others wondering if justice will stick. Reports claim Diddy's team is still trying to influence witnesses, a move prosecutors say shows he's desperate to hold on to control. Whether that's true or not, the sheer volume of accusers, over 70 and counting, makes it hard to look away. This isn't just about one trial, it's about whether the music world can face its shadows and what it means for the next big name in the headlines. And as the courtroom drama unfolds, one final twist waits to tie it all together.